I am delighted not to be CEO anymore. JustPark, clearly is my baby. I founded it, but I don't have a lot of the stress and anxiety that comes with, leading an organization.
I've come to the offices of JustPark in central London to meet the man who founded the tech company nearly 20 years ago. Anthony Eskinazi had an idea before Airbnb was even a thing. What if you could rent out your car park space as part of the sharing economy? His startup slowly grew and last year was bought out by US company ParkHub in a multi-million-dollar deal. It took his JustPark brand and made it global. It now has more than 15 million users. It's a great British tech success story, though also one in which the founder took a step back from being CEO. I wanted to find out more from the man himself about what he learned.
So I think the story begins in San Francisco, is that right?
Yes, so I just graduated from Leeds University, and I did a post-graduation gap year like many students do. And at the tail end of that trip, I stopped in San Francisco to visit some old friends because I'd spent a year studying over in California during my degree. My friend had booked tickets to the San Francisco Giants at the AT&T Stadium, so we were driving around looking for somewhere to park. We couldn't find somewhere. I saw an empty driveway and I said, wouldn't it be great if we could just park in that person's driveway, knock on the door, give them $10. We didn't do it. It just wasn't the thing that was done, but I'd had the idea. A couple of days after I had the idea, after that baseball game, I went to meet a colleague of mine, a former colleague from when I was studying in the States. And he showed me on his phone, and it wasn't even an iPhone then, because the iPhone hadn't actually been invented. It was on his laptop. A pizza slices on top of a Google map. And Google Maps had come out maybe a year earlier, but they'd only just released their API. So people weren't building tools on Google Maps like clearly we're so used to now. And he showed me these pizza slices saying, look, Anthony, if you ever want to know where the closest pizza slice place in Berkeley, this is going to be the app you do it on. And he was really excited about it, and I thought this was really cool as well. But clearly I'd had the experience about parking, 2 days earlier. I thought, well, actually those pizza slice icons could be parking icons. This would be quite fun and, easy to build. This could be the start of something. And then just 2 days after that, I was visiting a friend. I went to Las Vegas with a friend of mine from London, and we're lying on Lilo's in the pool at Caesar's Palace. And I know he's a Chelsea fan. I said, well, when you go to Chelsea, how do you, I know you drive, I know your dad drives, where do you park? And he said, well, I remember my dad knocked on someone's door and said, can I park in your driveway for all Chelsea games? And they've been doing that for years. And so that kind of confirmed that there's potentially an idea here. I now know I had the idea, I know there's a way of executing this. I've done some very, very basic consumer research. And then I had a job waiting for me back home to start an accountancy sort of graduate program with Deloitte. I came home, built the website, started Deloitte, but then quit 6 weeks later because I'd launched this website and I wanted to give it a go. My dad's a software developer. He taught me the very basics when I was about 12, 13 years old. So I actually built the very first, probably 4 or 5 versions of the JustPark website. Actually, back then we were called ParkatmyHouse.com. So I built it myself, and actually I didn't hire anybody into the business until we were about a 4 or 5 year old company.
I mean, Airbnb hadn't even started back then, the ultimate sharing economy company. But I think eBay was actually a bigger inspiration. Is that right?
eBay was a marketplace connecting buyers and sellers. It had a review system, it had a payment mechanism through PayPal. It kind of felt, right, it's the only sort of proof point I've got of, and how to build this. How can I look at the features that work? Actually, sort of tracing back a little bit, at university, so a couple of years before I founded this business, I started a secondhand games console business through eBay. So I'd buy a Nintendo 64 and 20 games, and then I'd sell them off individually and make, 20-30% margin. So I'd actually had experience trading on eBay, thinking about customer experience, customer support, optimizing the whole sort of automation flow as well. So I knew eBay, I knew it well. I'd sold maybe 1,000 items. And I'd done some digital marketing to actually drive that business as well. So I'd actually had a sort of foundational experience a couple of years earlier. which definitely helped me build another digital marketplace. The problem I had was I wasn't a particularly good programmer. I didn't know anything about the startup scene. There wasn't really a big London startup scene at that point, and I had no experience in business. And so my experience level was, running a small marketplace on eBay that made me probably, course of a whole year, maybe £1,000. That was my entire business experience. And I had no money to hire people either. And a lot of investors at that point thought, this is a lifestyle business. Are people really going to do it? So I couldn't raise money either. So I was a developer, I was a marketer, I was a salesperson. I did all the customer support for the first 4 or 5 years. And after about 4 years, we'd grown to maybe 10, 15,000 customers. But what that meant was we were getting more and more customer support queries. And in a given day, I was spending 2 to 3 hours just responding to customer support. And so it's very hard to build and scale a business when you're the only employee and you're spending a third of your time just sort of being reactive and dealing with customers, which clearly you want to do because you want to retain them, but it doesn't allow you to do anything else. So I really struggled in the first, probably years 3 and 4 to scale the business because I was just getting bogged down with just the administration of running a business. And over time, I was able to build the tools to actually help, speed that up. And then we were generating enough income that I could start hiring someone. And actually, I asked my wife to come work with me for about a year, which thankfully she did, and actually really helped me there in terms of stopping me being bogged down with all of that admin. But scaling it was very tough at the beginning. We also had a challenge in that we found a number of local authorities were sending letters to homeowners who were renting out their driveway saying, well, if you're renting out your driveway, it's a change of use of your property to a commercial premises. You need planning permission. If you don't comply, you could be hit with, I think, up to a £10,000 fine. Immediately that put our business model at risk. And so there were all these different challenges I was dealing with, and we just had to overcome. Thankfully, that one, we did a bit of lobbying, and central government guidance was sent down saying, no, we want to encourage the sharing economy and entrepreneurship. So we dealt with that. But again, just another one of those challenges we had to overcome. But scaling it was tough. I got my big break when BMW noticed us. And in 2011, they agreed to invest what was £250,000 in the business. We were their first ever European investment, BMW I Ventures. And that kind of gave me I was able to start hiring people. I was able to start taking the strain out of me playing every single role, and we could now hire a few different individuals. And I made some very good hires at the beginning, and took loads of pressure off.
So investment was crucial for them at that stage.
Yeah, we weren't generating enough income to hire people, and I was just getting bogged down in just maintaining the business rather than growing it. Plus, I didn't really have the experience at that stage to really know how to build it. So by bringing in people who had worked at other startups, other businesses, I was able to learn from them. But also, although BMW is clearly a corporate, the investors who sat on our board were still able to give me some sort of advice about growing the business, etc. So bringing that early investment on was kind of an accelerant for scaling the business.
JustPark was also able to unlock that vital investment money by turning to crowdfunding. It would go on to raise £17 million on Crowdcube, with around 80% of investors coming from its own user base. That's one advantage of being a startup in the sharing economy space. You have an inbuilt community of people incentivized to help you grow, with a vested interest in your success. This investment in turn made JustPark more appealing to traditional institutional investors.
So after nearly 20 years of patiently scaling the business, you're acquired by ParkHub, the American company, and the name remains JustPark, but you're no longer CEO, you become president. So you're still very much with the company, of course, but how do you adjust to that psychologically as a founder?
So, yes, it was a big transition, but a transition I was delighted with. Back in 2012, I had a colleague, a guy called Alex Stephanie, who's now the founder of a company called Beam, successful tech startup in London. Great guy, we had a great relationship. my wife had everything turned out fantastic, but struggled with our first child in terms of the birth. So I was struggling to concentrate at work. I wasn't making the best decisions. I needed a break. I'd been so intensive in the business for so many years. I actually asked Alex to step up and become CEO, and he did so for about 3-4 years. So I haven't really had an ego in terms of having that, CEO title. Yes, I continued to be a leader. I was the largest shareholder. I was still pretty much co-running the business with him. But I guess that ego title didn't really exist. And I guess when it came to selling the business in April 24, I'm delighted not to be CEO anymore. I've had that. We're now a 250 person company. I am still a leader in the organization. I'm on the executive team. I don't feel like I've got a boss. I've got a partner. I've got a colleague. I've got a friend. We're all running this business together. Yes, he's the one who deals with investors. Yes, he's the final decision maker. Honestly, I've been making those. I've had that pressure of being that decision maker for nearly 2 decades. It's quite nice having someone else having to make those decisions and staying up at night and just, having to deal with it. I get to do more of the things I enjoy, which is, promote the brand, be an ambassador, come up with creative ideas and solutions, working on the product side, supporting the team. I love all that stuff. Nearly all the team, other than the commercial function, has been globalized. So we've got a global product and engineering team, we've got a global marketing team, operations team, customer support team, executive finance team. So yes, clearly a lot of people in the UK office see me as their local leader. That's great. I'm happy to play that role. But in terms of the difficult decisions, the decisions that keep you up at night and cause stress, in a leadership role, I don't have that anymore, which after 20 years, I love. I get to still, JustPark, clearly is my baby. I founded it. I'm still involved with it, and I'm still leading it. But I don't have a lot of the stress and anxiety that comes with, leading an organization. Yes, clearly it helps that I've, exited and everything else. But I get to basically work on the things I enjoy and that I think I'm best at, without a lot of the headaches that come along with leadership. So, some people want to be CEO, they want to maintain that position. I guess I didn't have that ego, so I don't feel I need to. And actually, after 20 years, it's quite nice to sort of step back a little bit and focus on the things I really enjoy doing.
You've done what so many people would like to do, which is to scale a tech company in the UK. Can you share any general advice on how you were able to do that?
So one of the key things I did in the early days was try and meet as many people as possible within the sector. And when I think about the sector we're in, it's not just the parking sector. Clearly that's important. Going to all the networking events, going to the award ceremonies, immersing yourself in, around your people. But we're part of the tech sector, the startup sector, the consumer finance sector, because of the way we help homeowners make money and save money and drivers save money. We're part of the transportation sector. Within each one of these sectors are other startups or commercial partners who, there's a partnership opportunity that will allow you to scale. They want to be associated with either an upcoming startup or an established company like we are now. And each one of those relationships will either, become a partnership that can drive demand or supply or just help you grow your business, or it will allow you to establish a relationship, a friendship with another executive to just get advice and mentorship and think about how to scale your business. And I think that was probably something I did really well at the beginning, where I just met as many people as possible. And so the number of opportunities to form those partnerships to allow me to scale were everywhere. And we had no money at the beginning for probably the first 4 or 5 years. And it was those relationships and partnerships that actually sort of kept us going. And my relationships with the media were also really important. I basically just pimped myself out to anyone who wanted to interview me because I had no money for digital marketing. I needed the PR coverage to drive demand and supply and build that trust and credibility in our brand, but also it really helped with SEO, which clearly is free, traffic from Google and Yahoo at the time and everything else. So it was just sort of using, learning how to network, learning how to build those relationships is kind of what kept the business alive and allowed us to that early scale and traction to build up to someone that BMW and then Index Ventures and other institutional investors would be attracted to.